Hello, it's Mel K, and I am here with Total News at Turning Point USA, and I got one of the main women at Turning Point making a huge difference. Alice Clark is here. You know her from the Spillover podcast. Why don't you tell my audience how it's going this week?
Going so well. I could not believe so many cute conservatives at America Fest coming up to me, so excited. Weirdly, I've done a lot of parenting and health and wellness topics on the Spillover this year.
Right.
And these women are coming up to me like, oh my gosh, you totally changed my mind on daycare. You've totally changed my mind on birth control. It is a huge growing movement. It used to be that the left were the people you would think of as like crunchy granola that cared about health and organic and all that. But conservatives are really interested in this topic, especially young women right now.
Right, and I think people that are aware and awake like we are in Turning Point and my audience, they get that there's a war on the nuclear family, there's a war on having children. A lot of young women are getting the message not to do that. And I'm a little older, but I was in that first generation of like, get a job, you don't need a man, all of that brainwashing. And you know what, it's reversing. I think that they've pushed it so far in this iteration of Marxism that your voice and what you're saying is resonating because people know the truth.
Well, it's totally resonating. And did you see in the last couple months that viral video of the girl crying about working a 9 to 5?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so everybody saw that video, right? Well, what was interesting is she just graduated from college, if you haven't seen it, and she's bawling her eyes out saying, I hate this life. I hate that I have to wake up, before the sun comes up for a 2-hour commute into the city to go to work. Yeah. I'm there all day. By the time I'm home, it's time to eat and go to bed and do it all over again. She's like, this is not a life that I imagined for myself, going to college and having a career. And I'm like, well, of course. Women can have careers, but there is something to making sure that your priority is not your career, but it's your family. Right. And that's where women are going to primarily find our fulfillment. And so Gen Z and millennials were there. We're having kids in our family. But Gen Z is starting to see the mistakes that millennials have made. Because millennials, my generation, it was all about the girl boss thing. Yeah, it was all about your family will always be there. You can have it later. You can use fertility treatments. You can do whatever to do it later. Yes, Don't worry about it. Do career first. And then they're all like, even with fertility treatments, it's still hard for them to get pregnant, or they can't, or they're not finding somebody to get married or whatever. So these young women are seeing our mistakes and they're saying, I want a difference. I want to change in my life. I don't want to live like this. And they're seeing fulfillment in that, like, well, maybe it isn't crazy for women to stay home.
I know. It's so great. I'm so excited about it because I was in that generation. My sisters too. I have a doctor, a lawyer. I was a filmmaker. And all we thought about was like, you don't need a man. I swear that was the motto of me going through college to even other people. And even in my relationships, I was always like, I got to achieve this first. And then like Charlie said yesterday on stage, then you turn around and you look around and you say, wow, I really missed all that stuff. And I think it's so important what you're doing there. Now, what other things do you think are kind of coming around that people were ignoring? Because you said there's also natural health. COVID changed a lot of people. Taking care of yourself. Where are people, when you do your podcast, you cover a lot of things, where are people on their faith and trust in the medical system? And are people decentralizing? Are they looking at alternative treatments more than before? How did COVID change your audience?
COVID changed everything in terms of health, not just about how we see, vaccines and what's necessary and what isn't in this country, but also a big focus on holistic health now. People are really interested in holistic health and natural things that you can do, remedies you can do to, break a fever, even just simple things like that. They're very interested in that. Of course. My audience is especially. And then also it has really awakened a lot of people to problems with big food. So we talk about like big tech and big energy and all these big pharma, of course.
GMOs and glyphosate, all this stuff we never even knew about. We wouldn't even think about.
So you're seeing a bunch of 25 to 30-year-old women that are having families for the first time that are like, oh my gosh, they're really awake to, if we can understand that the government has been lying to us about all these other things, wouldn't they be lying to you about like what's allegedly okay and safe to eat in your food? Exactly. And I mean, think about it. If you whip out even just candy or snacks, like a bag of Doritos in America, there's like 20 ingredients that are allowed in America that aren't allowed in other countries. You have to ask why. Why is that? They're addictive ingredients that are poison that are going to make you keep eating. It's dyes, which, California, the one good thing that California did this year was ban food dyes. That is, people were like, oh, well, I don't get this. It is so incredibly important. Those food dyes are what is impacting a lot of these kids that you see have ADHD. It's from the food dyes. Right. It's very, very bad for you. And it causes behavioral issues, which is proven. That's not, a myth. It is. That's why California banned it, and it's illegal in the UK.
I know.
So we need that everywhere.
Even knew that what's illegal there, including like with makeup and skincare and all of that. They don't let half of our stuff on the shelves there.
Yeah.
And we should be looking at that, and you are looking at that, which is awesome. Now, what message do you have for people that might not know you or that do know you that right now, because a lot of people are a little tired, a little demoralized. We're going into the holidays. We got to really remember what matters, and love and family and our health and everything. But what do you see for 2024? People are anxious. You have a good take on what's going on. What should people be focusing on for themselves?
For yourselves, don't be careful not to get yourself in a position where you're experiencing political fatigue. That's what I love about the spillover is I'm covering cultural topics, learning new things, talking to experts, psychoanalysts, or survivors. I've interviewed women that have survived serial killers and stuff.
Wow, that's great.
Every episode is primarily to educate, but also entertain women.
Great.
So even though I'm conservative and openly conservative, I mean, listening to my episodes, it's not necessarily going to just be politics. It's okay to give your mind a little bit of a break. And going into an election year, I think it's really important because we love this. Like, I love talking politics, but also it's important for us to have a break.
Well, it's like your thing's called, it spills over, and it's all connected. And at the end of the day, if we can, heal our culture and society, it does spill over into politics as well. Because right now, everything's politics, unfortunately. It was never this way before. And last thing, any advice for people out there that have maybe been over this last 4 years, 3 years, been kind of separated from family and friends, and it's coming into the holiday. Do you suggest people reach out or, kind of wish them well? Because there's a lot. I think this is a hard time of year, especially after the last 3 years, especially for young women out there.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I've had that kind of stuff happen in my own life. They may not respond to you, but I think it's definitely a good idea to be the one to send that text and just say, hey, I just want to say Merry Christmas. I still love you. And send those messages, just letting them know that you're here. When they're ready to talk to you and they're ready to come around, then they will, hopefully. And that's what you can pray for. But always still extending that open, invitation to you're always welcome. If you want to come, you're always welcome to my home. And I think that's important to just keep telling them that.
Right, and it's important for going forward because the truth is there's no left and right, Republican and Democrat. They're Americans right now. We got to unite right now more than ever. Thank you so much. You are awesome.
Thank you, Mel.
See you again. Alex Clark, Spillover Podcast. Check her out. She's a Turning Point USA hero, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.